So welcome back into the Nat Bro podcast. This is our second inaugural episode. Took us 2 weeks, 3 weeks to start it,
Something like that.
something like that. Um, so today we're going to be talking about the introduction to Sovereignty, the battle for the hearts and minds of men by Ryan Michler. And there's the
It's backwards, but
book.
whatever.
But oh, it's back. No, it looks straight here. Yeah,
Okay,
it looks
cool.
straight
Yeah.
here. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it comes out in the video. Okay.
Definitely not a book to read when your life is crazy because
But
it feels like it always gets put on the back burner a lot.
oh, okay. Yeah.
For me, I'm talking about for me.
Well, but that's even to an extent, like that's where I feel like he is specifically talking to people who are kind of in the midst of
Chaos.
yeah, like because that's where his story begins is in the midst of this chaos. Him and his wife separated. She took the kids. He was by himself. He was in a failing business, failing marriage, um, and overweight. Just kind of like lost
How
sense of
much of the
everything.
book have you read?
I
I'm,
read
I'm
the
like,
introduction in the battle.
oh, okay. It talks about. I was like, I don't think the book actually goes over all that.
No. It does. It does. It talks about it. It talks about me. There's. I'm trying to see. There's a point where it was like in October 2008. I had given away my sovereignty. The result was a broken man sobbing alone in a cold, dark room of the house my wife and I had built 2 years earlier. In that room, I was hanging on to a memory of a family I had driven away. It was a picture of my 6-month-old son. Through my tears, I told the boy in that picture, I will find a way to get you back. And so,
Yeah, I
like,
remember that.
there
I'm
were
saying
little
I didn't
snippets.
know it. Like if he broke it down further or went somewhere else. That's my bad.
No, that's okay. Yeah, it's just through this introduction, like of where this book comes from. I was like, okay, this is interesting. So, understanding where he kind of like got this idea of like sovereignty and being a man and taking control, that kind of stuff. So anyway, um, I want to start with a quote from this particular part that I thought kind of like hit, probably resonated with me more than anything. He says, "A man who has given up his sovereignty fabricates excuses. He tells himself stories. He feeds himself lies." And kind of going through for me, because like I wouldn't say I'm going through a period of chaos right now, but this still resonates because he talks about how do you describe it? He talks about how there's different things that go on in your life, and that if you tell yourself it's somebody else's fault, then you're just kind of removing yourself of being
You're
in
stripping
control.
your own power.
Yeah, you're giving it to somebody else. And so for me as an overweight guy, as somebody who is constantly feeling like maybe I'm not doing exactly what I should be doing, I was like, this resonates pretty hardcore. Like, I would love to blame other people. I would like to come up with excuses. I would like to tell stories about how it's other people's faults, other situations, those things that are outside versus taking control or saying that I'm responsible for it.
So you feel like it's going to resonate enough to destroy that mentality? Because, that's scientifically, that's what resonance means. It's like it'll destroy whatever it's resonating.
Hmm. Sure, we did talk about that earlier today, didn't we?
How long was that today? I felt
Yeah,
like
that
that
was
might have been
today. Yeah,
today.
it
This
was, it
morning
was
at
your today,
4 a.m.
my yesterday.
Yeah. Well,
Uh, but does resonate mean to vibrate to an extent to its destroy?
So resonance is you can reach a certain frequency of the part, whatever it's in, and like that frequency resonates inside of whatever structure, whatever, so much so that it amplifies until it destroys itself. It's like a shatter point almost.
That's interesting because when we get to chapter one, which I've read, there's actually kind of a point where is it chapter one or maybe chapter two, but it's kind of like he little preview. He talks about the battle in or not the battle. I'm sorry, the choice, and he talks about how if you're making this decision to take back control of your life, you can't be like you actually have to do it. Like you can't be saying the right stuff and then do it for like a week or 2 weeks and then quit.
Yeah, like
Like,
me.
yeah. Well, I mean, not like anybody. I mean, tell me a person who, besides
I
like,
mean, it's basically you lose heart, you know. Honestly, like you try and be good for a week, and you don't get the results you get or you want, and you just lose all heart of trying to be better about it. You know, I mean, I clearly know what that's like. You know, I start out on a good path, but then it's like one landmine after another. Just finally, it's like, well, geez, I just give up. You know, kind of like reading the book itself. I picked up the book, start reading it, read it to you, told you about it, and
mhm.
you've taken off better with it than I have.
But it's not the reason why I took off with it better than you is more out of a desire to do this podcast. You know, where I think it could grow into this podcast could grow into where you and I talk about books, talk about movies, talk about things that are just going on that we notice in the news, um, and discuss those things. So I'm like, well, I've got to read up. And actually, in all honesty, when you made mention of this, I was like, man, he's going to read this book and I'm going to be behind. I need to catch up. It's like gotta figure out where we're at. So like, okay,
Well, you
so
definitely have more time to catch up than I
that
do.
is true. That is true.
Like I
That
had every
is
intention
very
of reading
true.
it today in some downtime, and then it's just like somebody asked me to help them build a CVT transmission, and
Mm.
they just turned into like no time before you know it. Went to the gym for an hour. Feel like I blew my ankles out. Yeah,
Well, I mean, the thing is like, so for me, what I've kind of realized, especially with just life, like yesterday, was it yesterday? What is today? Today's Tuesday here in China. Okay, so Sunday. Sunday, my Shelly and I were invited out to go bowling,
really.
but and you know how I love just spending time with people, love going out and just having fun, and bowling is definitely in that
Fun.
category. Two things prevented me from doing it. One is like distance and cost. Like it would be an hour and a half to go into town, cost 65 or like I guess it was $10 to do it. And not that that's a lot because it would still be enjoyable, but the biggest thing was how much time I would have to commit to that and not be able to do other things. And so ended up um, refusing the invitation just because
Yeah.
I was like, I can't do that because it's not important to me. Like I've had to decide, and I'm still working on this because this is a challenging thing, and I think this is kind of like going back to what Michler says in that choosing, controlling what you do and what you don't do, and not just he doesn't say this, but I kind of blend this in with I guess you could say scripture because scripture says it first, where it's this someone who just kind of like blows with the wind. Whatever way the wind blows, they go with it. And so for me, I've always been somebody like that, like where someone calls me up and they're like, "Hey, you want to go do this?" Yes, and then I go do it. And I'm like, oh wait, I got homework I got to do, or oh wait, I got work I got to get ready for. But now I'm trying to be more decisive. Be like, is this going to help me in what I want to pursue? Is this going to help me, lose weight? Is this going to help me become a better man? Is this going to help me, you know, do a podcast? Is this going to help me teach? Is this going to help me learn more about movies and American football so that I can talk about those in the future? And if the answer is no, then it's like, okay, no, I can't do it. So yeah.
I think the biggest thing is making sure you, which Ryan Michler hints on it a lot, is making sure you plan it out. As long as you make a plan to do something, execute that plan and don't
Mm.
deviate from it. Don't alter the course, so to speak.
So let me ask you this about that, because there, I don't, I don't agree with everything that he puts into
Of
his
course
book.
not. Of course not. Of
Just gotta be devil's
course.
advocate. Gotta challenge things. So specifically that, what if there's, I don't know. I'm trying to think, like, because I'm sure what he's talking about is more along the lines like when you set up a plan, you work toward that plan.
No, no, no. It's more than that, honestly. So
Okay.
yes, you have a plan, like a goal. That's what you're talking about. You're talking about goal. But what I'm talking about is something he hints on or hits on often is you set up a plan every day what you're gonna be doing. You execute that plan. Yes, there's time for changing it. There's time for adjustment. There's time for not doing exactly according to plan. But he's more or less, you know, if you have a plan, you execute it. You'll feel more productive.
Hmm. Okay. Okay.
Well,
Does
the
he
biggest
does he
thing.
talk about like future stuff, like plan what do you want to do in 5 years and then backtrack and do setting up every
I
day?
mean, some people might ask him questions like that, but more or less, his podcast is more about he brings in successful men or men
Okay.
that we would think are successful. So, um, the last podcast I listened to, he had Matthew McConaughey on there,
Hmm.
and so like famous people like that, but at the same time, like the American Sniper guy would have been like an example. There's a guy named Jocko, which I haven't
Hmm.
really
Jocko
looked into
Willick.
him, but yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
another guy. So he has all these power men because I mean it's called Order of Men, but I mean at the same time, I don't think we need to limit ourselves to that because it's not just men that need to make themselves better. It's everybody. You get
Okay.
the same
Okay.
principles. I
Although
feel
I
like
would
you get
say
the same principles. It's
you
it's
and
more or
I
less.
have no, like, you and I would be
No, I'm
ill
not saying
suited.
who. Yeah, no, I'm not saying that.
Okay.
I'm not
Okay.
saying that.
Yeah. All right.
I'm not
So
saying we're gonna lead the revolution for women too.
yeah.
Definitely.
So getting back to this, I guess like so in the introduction he talks about how he feels like he gave up on being in control of his life, and so that he was being manipulated by some like outside force that either like if you give up control of your life, you're basically saying that you're being manipulated by an outside force that either you can't see or you don't understand. And so, and he, one thing that he says that I'm like, I don't know if that's everyone, but like it seems like in the introduction he's saying that like all men that are around us have given up the power to control their lives.
Right,
That
we're
all men are like,
domesticated almost.
do what?
I said like we're almost domesticated.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're in like a decent marriage. You make a steady paycheck, and you're in a relatively painless life. And that he feels like most men, if not all men, well, probably most, because he would be one of all. But he feels like most men around us are that way. I don't know if that's the case, maybe I
So
would.
would you say, like, reading that book, you and I both know that you don't agree with 100% what he says. So would you say that you've been domesticated? Like you got an easy job, you got a contentful marriage, you got, what I mean? Like I know what I'm going through. Like it would be so much easier to not fight,
Right,
you know, get back into the marriage. And that's something I struggle with every day. Is like, am I making the right choice?
right.
But that's the point too. Is you make a choice and you stick with it.
Okay.
Accountability to yourself. There's things that are fundamentally flawed that you won't stand for no more, and they're not going to change. So you got to stick with them. So back to the original
But
question. I apologize. I kind of went on a tangent. Do
well,
you feel
let me
like
answer. Let me ask you this. So you're saying stick to something even when it looks like it's going to be like worthless or
no,
pointless.
not worthless, not pointless when it's the right thing to do, but you're still suffering through it?
Example.
Extreme example, dying on the cross.
Okay.
Extreme example. Like it's almost like, I mean, there's no better example than just saying, like, I know what happened in my relationship. I know what I'm at fault for. But at the same point, I know she did too. And, I am suffering through a lot right now.
Hmm.
But I still won't go back because it is not the right choice.
Mm. Oh, okay, okay. So you're saying in this case of like I'm not going back because
The only
it's
reason I would go back would be like for the kids, basically.
yeah.
Be easier on the kids. But then what do I lose? You know,
Okay.
it's kind of selfish, but at the same time, it's like maybe I think I'd be better off, and the kids would be better off if I wasn't there.
Hmm.
But they'll see her fight
Yeah.
with the next person she's with.
Yeah. Hopefully. Hopefully that. Anyway, yeah. So back to your question. Um, I would say it's an interesting dichotomy that I'm in that like I don't feel there are times where I don't feel like I'm up to the potential that I should be, or that I'm not using my talents or my skills quite to the maximum that I can. Um, and the difficulty is like some of those skills are not going to make. I would love to be an actor, absolutely 100%. But my wife is like, no. I was like, okay, why? She's like, I don't want you kissing other girls. That's a valid point. I completely get that. Now, granted, there's also the idea that I could put that in a contract. Like if I'm an actor, I could say I'm not kissing any women, like, and I'm also not kissing any men. Let's just would put that out there just to make sure. But I'm not kissing anybody else. I'm not doing any like sex scenes. I'm not doing any of those crazy things. Period. Because that would hurt my relationship with my wife, which is the most important relationship that I have on earth. So the other aspect that she feels concerned about is because even if like I've told her this, the other aspect that she feels uncomfortable with is that me becoming famous. Because I've told her in the past, if I become famous, I don't know what kind of impact that would have on my life. I don't know what kind of um, like new thought process or like what I would be trying to do. Like, would I just ignore? Would I like change? personality wise? Would I change how I feel about different things throughout life? Like, feel like all of a sudden I'm this really famous guy and everybody's giving me praise and everybody's honoring me, and I'm just like, yes, this is amazing. And then forget all the like lower people that can happen when somebody becomes famous. And so, like, that's kind of one of the challenging things for me because I'm not 100% sure like what would happen. But I would love to be an actor. Love that. Um, but I've also like taken other things to or other avenues like voiceover acting or
Mm-hmm.
even doing podcasting. Like, I love American football, want to talk about American football. I love movies, want to talk about movies. You know, do podcasts about these things. And so it's kind of a deviation. I still get to be creative, I still get to be entertaining, but I'm not being an actor. And to that end, I'm okay with that as long as I'm being supported in the other stuff. But like, I still like being a teacher. It's okay, but it's just okay. It's decent, to use Michler's definition. It's a relatively painless life. Um, and so to that end, like, I'm okay with that because it pays the bills right now. Until like the podcast takes off, or until something else takes off, like the voiceover acting or talking about football or talking about movies. Until those take off, this pays the bills. And I think that that's a very important thing to do, as long as there's a conversation with my wife saying, hey, look, I'm going to be pursuing this. I'm still going to work, I'm still going to bust my butt, but I'm also going to pursue this other thing. Like, and I'm going to put in time and energy into that. And, and,
Yeah,
and, and and I would
I don't
say,
think it's teaching you like I don't think it's telling you to skirt your responsibilities. It's like me, for instance. I'm gonna be faced with some responsibility changes here in a little bit when I graduate. It's
mhm,
gonna be like sacrifice. Is it gonna be better for me? Yes. What's better for the kids? This. So choice is not. He's not telling you to give up on everything. Or quit doing your responsibilities. It's more or less jump out there. You never know where you're gonna land.
yeah,
That's my idea of the intro.
okay.
Jump out
The
there and
interesting
don't
thing,
be
go
scared.
ahead.
No, I said jump out there and don't be scared. Or be scared, but then learn from it.
Yeah. So what do you think about like this whole he lists out like responsibilities, and like he's like, we have the responsibility to protect ourselves, but also protect loved ones and also those who can't protect themselves, and then
Yeah, of
also
course.
provide not just financially but also emotionally, mentally, spiritually.
100% agree with that.
Okay, I did too. I mean, I don't. I think, and later on we'll get into this because there's some stuff that he brings up that talks about like how people kind of feel towards men that
Yeah.
do that, that are
Hmm.
focused on that, that are trying to do that. And so, yeah, he does talk about that. I think one of the cool things is where he also, when it clicked in his mind, where he was like, I'm going to become the greatest catch for the next woman. Then a light bulb goes off. And he realized that he was blaming her. He was giving her the power. That if it was her fault, all he could do is wait for her to do something about it.
Yeah, I
Right?
know. I'm right there with him.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't. But what I wonder is, in your mind, what's going on in your life, as much as you feel comfortable to divulge, what could you have done better? Like what are the things that you could have taken control of? And
See, that's a hard question because the
Hmm.
real question is how much of it is how much do I really know and what don't I know?
Okay.
Like if I don't know when it started, I have to believe it started from the very beginning. As far as what I did, what I could change was not watching porn videos or not flirting with other women, but at
Hmm.
the same time, probably edit that out with everything.
Do you want me to edit that out?
Probably wouldn't hurt.
I mean,
Let's just
there's realness though. Like
well,
that's a struggle for men.
I mean, it is what it is. But for her to take that for the last 20 years and browbeat me with it, and I put up with it for so long, and that's the thing. Like I didn't take charge of my household.
Mm.
I sought my comfort in flirting with other women, and then after that, it was in my schoolwork, 100%. You know, I wasn't getting the love or emotional support I felt like I needed, so unintentionally or without a thought process to it or a second wind, you seek it. You seek. It's like that John Eldridge book. He quotes it in there, Wild at Heart. It's you're always seeking for that validation as a man,
Mm.
and you find it in a woman, or you find it in your work, or you find it in your kids, but you never find it within yourself. And so the problem is you never learn how to live with yourself, so to speak, I guess, if I remember correctly how it goes. And then when something doesn't go your way, like your wife, your kids, your job, then you spiral out of control and do something that you shouldn't do or stuff like that. I'm not making excuses for her, what I could have done differently. I see it. And at the same time, like I said, it would be easier to go back than to fight on this because, like, I don't know. She's not pulling any punches, I guess, so to speak. She's hitting all the stops.
And in you in your mind, like it would be easier to just go back and just suffer.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I'm already suffering, right?
Right. Right. But just say because but like right now the to quote Hamlet, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune are much more like painful right now than they would be if you went back.
Right.
In essence, like, but it's always like be mindful of what's coming in the future. Yeah,
I mean, you can't never be mindful. You could hope that the future be better.
but it's knowing that what you're suffering now is to have a better future.
Right. The payoff. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Absolutely.
extended payoff, not the immediate payoff, because the immediate payoff is garbage for what you're going through. Because otherwise, like right now, if you go back, the immediate payoff is great, but the long payoff, not so
I
great,
would say,
right?
I would say, I would say, next session will like, was it the next session is the battle?
Mm-hmm.
We did the introduction, and I think I'll talk about my battle so that way everybody knows. That's
Okay.
part one. What's chapter one?
All right. Yeah, or that's part one. Yeah, part one.